Exposed, airline staff's shocking discrimination against black woman. 5 minutes later, her life, Vanessa stepped into the bustling downtown airport, the scent of coffee and fresh pastries enveloping her. Today marked the beginning of a long-awaited family vacation and escape from her demanding life as a nurse, where long hours and heavy patience often drained her spirit. She glanced down at her 8-year-old daughter, Mia, whose eyes sparkled with excitement as she tugged eagerly on Vanessa's hand. "Mom, look! The big plane!" Mia exclaimed, pointing at the enormous aircraft just outside the glass. For a moment, they were a regular family among the throng of travelers, each with their own hopes and dreams fluttering in the air. Vanessa's heart swelled with pride as she imagined the memories they would create together. This trip symbolized the pursuit of their version of the American dream, a chance to experience joy beyond the walls of their small apartment in a community that often felt heavy with struggle, but that warmth quickly faded as they approached the check-in counter. The airline staff's dismissive glances pierced through her excitement like jagged glass. "You sure you can afford this? We don't want any trouble," one employee sneered, her tone dripping with judgment. The weight of those words crashed down on Vanessa like a wave. She felt exposed, stripped of her hard work and achievements, reduced to a stereotype. Mia looked up at her mother, confusion clouding her small face. "Mom, what's wrong?" Vanessa swallowed hard, forcing a determined smile. She thought of her mother, a single parent who had fought against the odds, imparting strength and resilience. "Nothing, sweetheart. Just a little mix-up," she replied, pain clenching her chest. The humiliation was raw, but she pushed it aside. "Not here, not now." Just as she tried to regain her composure, her phone buzzed. It was a call from her estranged father, a man whose absence had left a chasm filled with regret. "Vanessa, it's been a while. I've been thinking." The conversation was awkward, his words steeped in ideals of hard work that felt distant from her journey. "You've got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps," he advised, the distance between their experiences glaring as old wounds began to reopen. Her emotions twisted and turned as anger sparked inside her, a fire ignited by the discrimination she faced. Vanessa opened her social media app and began typing, pouring her heart out. "Today, I faced humiliation in public." Her fingers danced over the keys, fueled by an urgency to call for change. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. In mere moments, her story began to resonate throughout the community. Friends, family, and strangers rallied behind her. Support poured in, lifting her spirit amidst the clouds of disappointment. National media caught wind of it, turning her humble experience into a rallying cry. An unexpected movement bloomed from her pain. As she stood on the brink of confrontation with the airline executives, doubt crept in. Could she really make them hear her? Would her story inspire change? The weight of hope and fear hung heavy as Vanessa, heart racing, prepared to enter the corporate boardroom. Could one woman's struggle redefine not just her worth, but the very fabric of American values? The answer awaited her, and the future shimmered tantalizingly close. Vanessa took a deep breath, feeling the air thicken with tension as she stood before the sleek boardroom doors. The room felt imposing, its glass walls shining like an unyielding fortress. She had envisioned this moment countless times, yet here she was, heart pounding, nerves jittering. Mia's laughter echoed in her mind, a sweet reminder of why she was here. This wasn't just about her. It was about paving the way for her daughter and countless others who could be trapped by the same prejudice. As she stepped inside, the air shifted. Several executives, dressed in crisp suits, sat around a long table, their expressions ranging from curious to indifferent. They looked at her like she was an unwelcome intrusion. One man, with an all-too-familiar scowl, leaned back in his chair and folded his arms. Ms. Price, thank you for coming. We've received your correspondence, he said, his voice cold and calculated. Vanessa squared her shoulders, the warmth of her community's support wrapping around her like a shield. This isn't just about me. It's about how your staff treats customers. This issue runs deep, far deeper than any of you may realize. She could feel the tension spike in the room. A few executives exchanged glances, their body language dismissive. There was a knot in her throat, but she was determined to unravel it. Every day, people are judged on the color of their skin. It's archaic and unjust. The man who spoke before shifted, his discomfort palpable. We strive for excellence in customer service, Ms. Price. Our staff is trained. Perhaps. She interrupted, her voice stronger than before. Perhaps your training needs a serious overhaul. People are hurt by the words and actions of those you employ. Silence hung heavy in the air, her statement like a spark ready to ignite. No one should feel they need to justify their presence or their worth, especially when they've worked hard for it. Vanessa's voice wavered, but she pressed on. The emotions roiling inside her dared her to falter, yet she felt fueled by something larger than herself. Someone cleared their throat, breaking the ice. A woman in a pastel blouse leaned forward. Ms. Price, can you tell us how this incident specifically affected you and your daughter? That question unlatched something deep inside her. Vanessa thought of Mia, how innocent and excited she was, only to be met with snide remarks. Mia should never have to bear the burden of my struggles. It breaks my heart. I was supposed to show her the world, not remind her we inhabit it differently based on our skin. The room was quieter now, her vulnerability crossing the invisible barrier that had stood between them. She saw nods of recognition, albeit tentative. She gathered her courage and continued, this isn't about one incident. It's about an opportunity for you to transform and lead by example. The executives began to shift, a dawning realization flickering across their faces. She could sense a subtle change in the atmosphere, like the moment just before rain falls. Words, once sharp and defensive, transformed into something softer, more receptive. But before she could bask in that shift, a deep voice interrupted, "What do you want us to do, Ms. Price?" The question hung in the air, a challenge wrapped in intrigue. As she gathered her thoughts, Vanessa felt the weight of her mission crystallize. It was more than just a demand for acknowledgement, it was a call to change the narrative. Let us create a program, a commitment to diversity training that involves all your staff at every level. I want you to ensure that no one else leaves the airport feeling the way I did. Would they listen? The executives murmured among themselves, their expressions betraying a mix of skepticism and contemplation. Vanessa held her ground, a fire ignited within her. The next moment would define everything. Would they truly step forward into the light of change? Or retreat into their shadows? The boardroom felt electric, the silence thick with possibility. Vanessa felt her heart race as she awaited their response. The air was charged, like a storm brewing just out of reach. She locked eyes with the man who had questioned her, searching for a flicker of empathy. Instead, he wore the same mask of skepticism. The weight of expectation pressed down on her, and she felt the collective gaze of the executives, some shaded with judgment, others tinged with curiosity piercing through her confidence. Then, breaking the tense silence, the woman in pastel spoke again, her voice softer now, framing her words carefully. What you're proposing is significant work, Ms. Price. Implementing a program like this takes resources and commitment. Are you prepared to work alongside us to develop this initiative? The question fell onto Vanessa like a heavy stone. Did she really have the energy and resilience for this? For a moment, doubt clouded her mind. But then Mia's laughter echoed back, pulling her from the depths of uncertainty. She thought of her daughter's bright spirit and the future she deserved. I'm fully committed, she replied, determination in her voice. This isn't just another project for me. It's personal. I want to ensure that all people, especially our children, feel valued and safe in this world. A murmur of agreement stirred among the executives. Vanessa felt a small shift, like a portal opening towards hope. But the man with the scowl still looked unmoved. "While your passion is commendable," he interjected, "the reality of the company's priorities and profits must also be considered. It's a business after all." Vanessa clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms. "And what about the humanity of it all? The very purpose of your business should be to serve all customers, joining them in a shared experience rather than judging them by skin color." His brow furrowed, uncertainty flashing across his face momentarily. She could almost see gears turning in his mind as other executives leaned in, intrigued by the unfolding dialogue. "I propose we take a step beyond just talking about change," Vanessa continued, fueled by the shift in energy. "Let us hold a workshop here, with real voices from the community. Bring in those who've been affected to speak candidly about their experiences." The murmurs grew louder. Some executives nodded, others shifted in their seats, clearly grappling with the weight of her words. Vanessa's resolve strengthened with each passing second, even when faced with their hesitation. Then the woman in pastels, a flicker of excitement in her eyes, added, "We could engage local leaders, to those who understand cultural sensitivity and can guide us." "Exactly," Vanessa said, her voice rising with enthusiasm. "Let us turn this corporate issue into a community endeavor." The man who had remained silent all this time finally spoke again, but differently now. "If we were to pursue this, it would require measurable outcomes. A way to assess the effectiveness of this training." "Of course," Vanessa said, nodding eagerly. "We can establish metrics for success. Accountability will be key." But just as she thought they were moving forward, the door swung open and a new figure entered, someone she recognized immediately. It was Leah, her supportive friend and a community organizer. Instinctively, Vanessa felt a thrill of confidence surge through her, but it also sent a ripple of uncertainty through the executives. They hadn't prepared for this. The atmosphere in the room thickened again, and Vanessa could sense the tension mounting. Leah made her way to the table, her presence anchoring Vanessa deeper in her resolve. "I hope I'm not interrupting," Leah said, her presence commanding but warm. "I just heard about the discussion. I want to be involved because real change needs us all." Was this the sign Vanessa needed? Or a complication that would unravel everything she had worked for? As Leah took a seat beside Vanessa, the stakes felt higher than ever. Would the executives embrace this growing coalition for change or shrink back into their comfort zones? Vanessa could feel the pulse of the moment quicken, enough to bring tears to her eyes. Would they finally understand the true power of unity? The boardroom transformed into a battleground of thoughts and feelings. As she looked around, Vanessa wondered what decisions would unfold next. This wasn't just about diversity training anymore, it was about standing for a legacy, for a future where Mia could thrive unmarred by the shadows of prejudice. But would they take the plunge? The question hung in the air, waiting to be answered. The silence draped over the room like a damp blanket. Executives shifted in their seats, exchanging glances that conveyed uncertainty. Vanessa felt a mixture of fear and adrenaline. She could sense Leah's unwavering support radiating beside her, but would that be enough? "Look," Leah began, her voice clear and steady, "what Vanessa is proposing isn't just a workshop. It's a pathway to change. We're not just addressing systematic issues, we're opening doors for dialogue." Her words hung in the air, echoing against the stark walls of the boardroom. One executive, a middle-aged woman with curly hair, leaned forward, her brow furrowed. "But where do we even begin? It feels daunting." Vanessa jumped at the chance to respond. "Every journey starts with a single step. We can outline a clear plan, starting small and building into something transformative. Community voices will guide us." The man with the scowl still looked unconvinced. "Community voices might not align with our corporate goals. They could complicate our bottom line," he remarked, a hint of defensiveness creeping into his tone. Leah turned toward him, her gaze unwavering. "But if you let those voices in, you might find that their impact far surpasses any projected profit. Think about the loyalty of customers who feel seen. This is about creating lasting connections. In that moment, the energy in the room palpably shifted. Vanessa could almost feel the weight of their doubts lifting, replaced by a sense of curiosity. It wasn't just about the numbers anymore, it was about the stories behind those numbers, and it was glowing brighter as Leah spoke. You have an opportunity to be leaders instead of followers, Leah continued, her voice rising with passion. To spark a movement, to show that this company stands for more than just the bottom line. Imagine what your customers would say if they knew you were listening. A supportive murmur swept through the room, and even the man who had frowned was beginning to consider. Vanessa felt the surge of hope, but it was quickly tempered by the reality that words alone wouldn't be enough. They needed action. What would happen if we could showcase real outcomes? Vanessa ventured, inspired. If our workshop led to tangible improvements, if we could present these changes at a quarterly meeting? Not just for this company but to be an example for others. For a moment, the boardroom was silent again, each executive lost in their thoughts. Vanessa's heart raced, a mix of fear and excitement. Would they dare to step into the unknown alongside her? Then the woman in pastels broke the silence, her voice filled with cautious enthusiasm. If we think outside our norms, perhaps we can not only lead but transform the narrative around our brand. It could be revolutionary. The room ignited with murmurs, heads nodding in agreement, and suddenly, Vanessa felt momentum pressing behind her, like an invisible force. They weren't just debating change, they were hungry for it, but just as she began to bask in that energy, a sudden loud cough shattered the moment. All eyes turned to the far end of the table where another executive sat, looking uncertain. I see the value in this, he said hesitatingly, but what happens when the project faces pushback from our audience or shareholders? Vanessa's stomach tightened. She had prepared for resistance, but hearing it out loud felt like another wall being placed before her. Her mind raced. How could she respond to this fear while maintaining their newfound momentum? Change isn't easy, she replied, summoning every ounce of confidence. But if we don't take a stand now, we will fail to be what our customers need. Let us give them something to believe in. And if we stumble, let us do it together. We'll learn. The murmurs surged again, the atmosphere shifting once more, uncertainty wrestling with the thrill of possibility. But just then, the door creaked open again, and this time, it was Mia, wide-eyed and innocent, standing there like a beacon, completely unaware of the tension. Vanessa's heart sank and swelled at once. Would her daughter's presence break the momentum they'd created, or could it illuminate the reasons they were fighting for? Mom. Mia called, her voice soft yet clear, filling the room as if she were calling for a lost toy. The boardroom shifted once more, and all attention zeroed in on the child who embodied everything Vanessa was fighting for. They had a choice to make: would they step forward into this new light or retreat back into shadows? As the executives responded with puzzled glances and hesitations, Vanessa felt the stakes rise. This moment was pivotal, and every breath counted. Would her daughter's innocence be the catalyst they needed, or would it fracture their fragile hope? Vanessa remained grounded, her heart pounded. What would this moment reveal? Mia's small frame seemed to demand attention, her presence so pure and untainted. The executives glanced at one another, fleetingly distracted by this unexpected intrusion. Vanessa's heart raced as she fought to stabilize the conversation spiraling around her. Mommy, can we go home? Mia's voice trembled with quiet urgency. She didn't understand the weight of the moment, but her genuine need tugged at Vanessa's heartstrings. Just one more second, sweetheart, Vanessa replied, kneeling down to catch Mia's gaze. I need to finish talking with these. She hesitated, important people first. A wave of compassion washed over her, fueled by Mia's innocent yearning for safety and home. She could see the executives softening, their powerful personas fracturing at the edges. It was a crack in the armor. Her daughter's presence was a reminder of the very humanity they were discussing. Kids are the reason we strive for change, Leah chimed in, breaking the tension further. What we build today creates the world they'll inherit. Vanessa met Leah's eyes, grateful for her ally's quick thinking. But the query echoed in her mind. Were they really making a choice not just for profit, but for a new legacy? Poor Mia, what if the boardroom stood as a daunting wall between her and her mother? Reluctantly, one of the executives with the scowl leaned forward. You're right about the future. His brow furrowed, but something in his expression softened. What if we involve voices like hers, the youngest among us? What if we ask them what they want? A ripple of excitement surged through the room. Conversations ignited amidst the executives, each sharing ideas on how to involve the community and the voices of the youth. It was like a flame rekindling after the chill of doubt. Vanessa couldn't help but smile. Mia was more than a distraction. She was the embodiment of everything they were trying to achieve. A few chairs rustled as the executive spoke animatedly, but Mia's small hands tugged at Vanessa's arm, pulling her back to the present. Mom, I don't want to stay here. I want to go to the park. The plea rattled Vanessa. The exhaustion of the past weeks weighed heavy on her shoulders, and here was her daughter, unwittingly reminding her of the balance they were hoping to create. Yes, love, Vanessa murmured, brushing a soft hand against Mia's cheek. Just a few more moments. She turned back to the table, her resolve strengthened by the glimmer of hope she had just felt. An executive with calm eyes spoke up. Could we arrange a meeting with community leaders? Let us make this workshop an outreach, a collaboration, a movement. We'll involve families, their stories, their needs. Yes. Vanessa exclaimed, excitement bubbling up. Involve children in the planning. Hear their dreams. This isn't just about us, it's about everyone. Mia giggled, and the laughter that followed from the boardroom blended with her lightness. They were no longer speaking about abstract numbers and projections. This was about real people, children looking toward the future, adults who could stand together, shoulder to shoulder in understanding. Just then, a voice broke through the cheerful din. But what if it fails? The doubting executive from before spoke again, his voice tainted with skepticism. What if, in trying to reach everyone, we stretch ourselves too thin? The room quieted again, the energy pinched. Vanessa's heart sank, but then she stood taller. What if we don't try? She challenged, her voice steady. What if we do nothing, and the next generation suffers because we were too afraid to act? The weight of her words settled over the room, momentarily suffocating. Every executive stared at her, their eyes wide. Remember, it's for them, Leah injected, standing by Vanessa, her passion palpable. If we take small, meaningful steps together, we can navigate any obstacles. As hope began to seep back, Vanessa felt the resolve building like a storm brewing for change. But just as she thought they were starting to align, Mia's small voice rang out again. Can we have ice cream afterward? Murmurs of amusement erupted, but Vanessa saw deeper than that. Her daughter urged them to think beyond the boardroom walls. They were at a brink. Could this meeting evolve beyond talk? Could it embody the sweet blend of courage and sweetness, of business and community with Mia as the heart of it all? As Mia's laughter echoed among the executives, Vanessa held on to that moment. It was shift after shift, a tapestry woven with possibilities. She wondered, how would they choose to move forward from there? Would they embrace the challenge or succumb to the fear? And just like that, an electric anticipation crept in. Would they take that leap together? The chatter enveloped Mia and Vanessa, creating a warm cocoon against the chill of skepticism in the room. Vanessa felt her pulse quicken as she tried to articulate the urgency of their mission, her daughter's innocent laughter winding through the dialogue like a thread of light. This was no longer just a meeting about numbers, it was about futures. Suddenly, one of the executives leaned back and crossed his arms, his face pensive. Look, he said, breaking through the euphoria, we can't ignore the realities we face. Community outreach is great, but is it feasible? Are we equipped to handle the pushback that could come from this? His eyes scanned the table, searching for support. Vanessa met his gaze, her heart racing. This was the moment she needed to dig deeper. If we take only the safe path, we may avoid criticism, but we'll also miss the opportunity to make a genuine difference, she responded, her voice steady yet passionate. An authentic conversation often comes with pushback. But if we don't engage, we risk leaving people behind. Mia shifted beside her, sensing the tide of tension. She looked up, concern written across her young face. "Mommy, are they going to be okay?" Vanessa reached for Mia's small hand, squeezing it tight. "We're all going to be okay, sweetheart. We are fighting for what's right." Leah smiled softly at Mia, her resolve buoyed once more. "Let us give the community something to believe in. We'll create a space for dialogue, a safe place where we listen as much as we speak." She turned to the executives, urging them, "Imagine that. A community-driven initiative with Mia's generation at the forefront. It's not just about responsibility, it's about leadership." Some heads nodded, stoked by Leah's enthusiasm. The room seemed to pulse with fresh energy, but the doubtful executive remained tight-lipped, shifting uneasily in his chair. Vanessa could sense the weight of his reservations. "And what if it fails?" he asked again, more adamant now. "What if it backfires and we lose everything?" "Then we learn," Vanessa countered, her spirit unyielding. "And we improve. Real growth comes from failure, and all of us that's the price of growth. But doing nothing? That will haunt us far longer than any setback." Mia squirmed in her seat, her innocent eyes darting between the serious faces. "Mom, I just want to help." The genuine plea cut through the tension like a knife, and every pair of eyes softened, reminded of the stakes involved. Vanessa knelt once more to Mia's level, her heart buoyed by the fight in her daughter. "You are helping, lovey. This is our journey together." But then a heavy silence hung in the air, pulling everyone back to the meeting's reality. The once lively exchanges simmered down as all eyes returned to the doubter. Finally, he let out a slow breath. "I understand your passion, but what safeguards can we put in place if we go down this route?" It was a valid question. The executives needed assurance not just for themselves, but for the investment they were discussing. "Perhaps we could set up a pilot program," Leah suggested. "Start small, test the waters. We could gather feedback directly from the community and adjust our approach as we go." The idea was good. Everyone mulled it over until Vanessa spoke again, fueled by levity. "And we can throw in ice cream for those who participate," she smiled, hoping to spark a more jovial atmosphere. To her surprise, giggles erupted again from Mia, the sound washing over the room. That sprinkling of laughter felt transformative, lightening fears, fueling aspirations. The executives began to share cautious smiles, lifted by the child's infectious joy. Mia grinned up at her mother. "See? Ice cream helps." But just as the room began to warm, the executive who had been the skeptic leaned forward again. "All right, fine. Let us consider a pilot," he stated with a grudging acceptance. "But I need everyone on board, and I don't want this to get out of hand." Vanessa's heart soared. "We will keep the focus on community. This is where we all rise together," she replied, and a flicker of hope ignited, yet in that moment of budding triumph, she wondered had they merely scratched the surface? Could this pilot be the beginning of a much larger, more profound journey? As the meeting continued, Vanessa kept glancing at Mia, who was blissfully drawing imaginary patterns on the table. In her daughter's innocent creations lay the promise of a future they were daring to envision together. But would everyone hold true to their commitment? Would hesitation slip back in as the drive for change became real? The question lingered, electric with uncertainty, as choices hung in the air like unturned pages waiting to be written. Vanessa could barely focus as the meeting progressed. The air buzzed with tentative excitement, but her mind raced ahead. Glances exchanged between the executives revealed a mix of apprehension and budding support. All of it slowly hinged on the pilot program, a concept that carried weight but also risk. She leaned in, her thoughts colliding with each other. "Let us get concrete," she said, suddenly inspired. We need a timeline and we need to engage with the community right now. Holding back one work. One executive raised an eyebrow. You think people will show up? What if we set this up and nobody comes? Then we'll make it an event that they can't resist. Mia interjected, her eyes sparkling with conviction. Like a festival. With ice cream, and games, and art. Vanessa chuckled at her daughter's enthusiasm, the tension easing slightly. Exactly. We invite everyone to share ideas, not just show up for a presentation. It's about creating a connection. With each word, the doubt in the room seemed to lessen. Vanessa felt a spark as she spoke, fighting for something bigger than herself. Leah chimed in, think about it, imagine neighborhood kids taking part, leading discussions. It could be pivotal. The room began to buzz as they fleshed out more ideas, voices overlapping at times, the uncertainty melting away. Ideas flowed around the table like waves, rippling through conversations. It felt like change was within reach, a real possibility, but just as hope began to ascend, the skeptical executive spoke again. And what if the pushback is bigger than we anticipated? Silence settled, heavy and cold. That nagging fear resurfaced. Vanessa's heart thudded in her chest, but Mia's tiny hand in hers brought a wave of calm. We can't let fear stop us from trying, she said gently, searching each face around the table, hoping they would feel her conviction. With each challenge, there's a chance to grow, learn, and understand. One of the executives finally piped up, I might have underestimated just how much impact this can have. Let us think about our messaging. Vanessa grinned, yes. A campaign about unity, trust, and coming together as a community. The atmosphere in the room shifted again, glimmers of support ignited in eyes that moments ago were laced with doubt. They brainstormed slogans, colors, catchy jingle ideas that could reflect this burgeoning alliance. Laughter echoed again, and Mia, not wanting to be left out, suggested, and a mascot. A superhero who loves ice cream. Her suggestion broke the last strands of tension, and soon laughter erupted as they debated what the mascot would look like and what it would represent. Yet, that skepticism still lingered at the edges. Would this newfound energy be enough to maintain momentum? As the meeting began to wind down, Vanessa felt a flutter of hope layered with uncertainty. Leaning towards Leah, she whispered, what if we get people excited but then they feel let down? Leah met her gaze with a steady assurance. If we approach this with authenticity, the community will respond. It's about building trust. Besides, we're in this together. With a final discussion about the timeline, the weight of decision hung palpably, the path ahead illuminated yet shadowed by what could go wrong. Let us make a pact, Vanessa said, raising her hand as the others followed. Whatever happens, we stick together. This is our journey. They nodded, solidarity forged in sweat and dreams. Vanessa squeezed Mia's hand, grateful for her child's sweet belief in a brighter world. But just then, as they prepared to end the meeting, a new voice cut through the moment, a large voice filled with authority that none expected. Hold on a minute. Before you proceed, we need to have a serious talk about budget allocation. Vanessa's heart sank. Would the finances choke their dreams? Would their aspirations of change crumble before they even began? The question loomed in the air, heavy and unresolved, fighting against the optimism building inside her. What would they be willing to sacrifice to make this change a reality? The room fell silent, the warm glow of optimism dimming with the mention of budgets. Vanessa felt a flutter of anxiety in her stomach. She glanced around at her team. Leah's expression shifted to one of steely determination. Okay, let us hear what we're up against, she said, ready to tackle whatever came their way. The executive who had interrupted leaned forward, clearly ready to take control. We want to support this initiative, but resources are tight. If we're going to invest time into this pilot program, we need a financial blueprint first, he stated, his voice firm. Vanessa nodded, trying to absorb his words. Can we gather information on potential costs? Events, materials, all of it? I know it won't be easy, but we can't let a lack of funds cloud our vision, she replied, holding on to every glimmer of hope. One of the other executives spoke up, we might be able to reallocate funds from other projects. If we present a strong case based on community engagement and potential returns, we can sway management. That sparked a flicker in Vanessa's gut. There it was, the opportunity to shift their narrative, to emphasize the community aspect and create something transformative. Let us write a proposal that showcases the potential impact of this program. We can gather testimonials from people we know, explain how they can benefit, Leah added, her voice growing stronger with enthusiasm. Mia, ever the beacon of unfiltered optimism, piped up, and we can have a part of the festival where people can share their stories. Real stories, ones that show why this matters. Vanessa's heart soared at her daughter's idea. Yes. A storytelling corner, where the community can voice their experiences. Authentic connections will make this resonate. As plans unfurled with renewed vigor, they jotted down notes and brainstormed on potential collaborations with local businesses. The chatter grew animated, and the shadow of financial doubt started to lift, but just as the energy hit a high point, an unsettling thought crept in. What if their proposal was turned down? What if all their dreams unraveled before they even had a chance to begin? A clenching feeling wrapped around her heart again. You know, she started hesitantly, drawing the eyes of her team, even if we face obstacles, we need to remain transparent with the community. It's the least we can offer. Everyone nodded, some murmuring in agreement. Leah's gaze met Vanessa's. And if we can't control the financials, we can at least control our message. If we communicate with sincerity and honesty, it'll build trust. That's invaluable. Vanessa smiled at her friend, grateful for her resolve. Exactly. Let us not let fear derail us. We have to keep pushing through. They turned their attention back to planning, but doubt still lurked at the back of Vanessa's mind. Would everyone remain united when the pressure tested their resolve? As they wrapped up, Vanessa caught Mia's eye and it warmed her. No matter what, we're in this together, right? Mia grinned widely. Always. With that bond fortified, they gathered their belongings and prepared to leave the conference room. Just as they reached the doors, however, the executive who had been skeptical before stopped them. We'll need a contingency plan. If budget approval falls through, what's next? Vanessa's breath caught in her throat. They had anticipated the challenge, but the weight of the unexpected reality fell heavy. Could they truly prepare for every possible outcome? As her mind raced through alternatives, doubts began to whisper. Was optimism enough to carry them? How much were they willing to gamble on their vision? In that moment of uncertainty, Vanessa knew one truth remained: if they were committed as a cohesive unit, they might just find a way forward. But the question lingered: were they truly ready to face whatever difficulties lay ahead? The path was thick with challenges, and with each step into the unknown, a hope ignited, but what awaited them was shrouded in uncertainty. Vanessa's mind buzzed with ideas as she stepped into the crisp afternoon air. The changing seasons mirrored their own journey, full of promise yet shadows lingering. She felt an urgency to channel the energy from the meeting into action. Mia, she called out, catching up to her daughter, who walked ahead with a bounce in her step. Do you think we should schedule a meeting with the community leaders soon? Mia turned, her enthusiasm unwavering. Definitely. The sooner we share our ideas, the more support we'll get. The sound of their footsteps echoed in sync against the pavement. Vanessa could see the excitement in Mia's eyes, a bright spark reassuring her that they were heading in the right direction. I'm thinking we could set a date for next week. We can tell everyone about the storytelling corner and how it's going to bring us all together, Vanessa said, feeling the initial weight of their challenges lighten just a tad. Mom, I can help with the flyers. And if I can get my friends involved, we'll make it even more fun. Mia's voice danced with energy, igniting a sense of possibility that washed over Vanessa like a refreshing breeze. Great idea. Vanessa replied, envisioning a colorful flyer, a collage of faces and stories that could draw people in. Back at home, they spread out on the kitchen table, tossing around ideas like confetti. Colors, fonts, slogans all were discussed with childlike glee. But as the excitement grew, Vanessa couldn't shake the gnawing anxiety forming a knot in her stomach. What if their efforts fell flat? Later that evening, the team met at Leah's house. The cozy space was filled with the smell of freshly baked cookies and a determination palpable in the air. Okay, let's dig into this proposal. We need to make it sing, Leah urged, her fingers flying over the keyboard as the rest of the team huddled close, scanning the document projected on the wall. Let's make sure we include case studies from similar programs, another member suggested. People love stories, not just numbers. Vanessa smiled, realizing how far they had come from the initial dread about their budget. They were not just a team, they were a family bound by a common dream. As they crafted the proposal, a mix of ambition and vulnerability flickered beneath the surface. Each time discussions wandered toward risks, everyone rallied together. They poured their hearts into every line, hoping these words would convey their collective vision. Minutes turned into hours, laughter intertwined with sharp brainstorming, and even the occasional silence brought comfort as they weighed their prospects. But beneath it all, Vanessa could still feel the chilly fingers of doubt skittering across her psyche. As the night deepened, the conversation eventually shifted to contingency plans. What if we can't get the funding we need? Mia asked, her voice small yet brave, echoing a question Vanessa had been wrestling with since that afternoon. We need this to work, Mia, Leah affirmed with a flicker of tension in her voice. But even if it doesn't go as planned, there's value in what we're creating. We've already started to build something special. That statement hung in the air, challenging Vanessa's fears. What if success wasn't measured solely by ticking boxes of financial approval? Wasn't there something beautiful about the journey itself? Mia squeezed her mother's hand, grounding her in that moment. We'll figure it out together. That's what we do. But would they? As Vanessa glanced around the table, a sudden swell of pride filled her heart. Here were people willing to fight for something bigger than themselves. Still, uncertainty drizzled over her thoughts, casting a shadow that she couldn't ignore. The evening ended with shared laughter, but Vanessa went to bed restless, her heart still racing with questions. What if their passion wasn't enough? Restlessness turned to resolve as she slid under the covers. She had to believe that hope was worth something. When morning dawned, Vanessa would make her move. She would present their proposal with unwavering faith in what they had built. But one haunting question lingered: would they be ready for what lay ahead, no matter how daunting the challenges? The days turned into anxious anticipation as Vanessa gathered her team for the big day. The sun glimmered brightly, casting rays of hope into the conference room. As she walked in, the air pulsed with determination. Today was the day they would present their pilot program, and she could feel the weight of the moment pressing on her shoulders. Her heart raced as she took a deep breath. Mia's laughter echoed in her mind, fueling her courage. This wasn't just about corporate interests, this was about real lives, the future of her daughter, and a chance to build a world where skin color didn't determine opportunities. The conference table stretched out before her, filled with suits and serious faces. Vanessa's resolve hardened, she wouldn't let fear silence her. Thank you for gathering today, she started, forcing her voice steady. What I'm about to share is not just an idea but a vision for change. She unveiled their proposal, each slide brightening with visions of storytelling corners and community outreach, emphasizing unity, healing, and learning. She could see some executives shifting, their brows furrowed as they processed the essence of what she was proposing. But the tension held, and Vanessa felt a familiar knot tighten in her stomach. Your initiative, one executive began, is ambitious. But how can we ensure sustainable support? What happens if community engagement sags? Vanessa squared her shoulders, reminded of Mia's innocent belief in their mission. Change isn't born from perfection, she said, her voice gaining momentum. It's molded through our commitment. We engage, we listen, and we adapt. If we create a space that allows authentic connection that elevates unheard voices will find community love, and it will sustain us. Encouraged by their growing interest, Leah jumped in, let us not forget the implications. This is about setting a standard for customer care, about cultivating a brand that stands for every single person who walks through the doors. The murmurs intensified, some executives nodding in agreement while others appeared deep in thought. Vanessa was cautiously optimistic. And then, as the mood seemed to shift in her favor, the skeptical executive spoke again. While your passion is commendable, we must consider the bottom line. This will require significant investment. Are you prepared for potential backlash from stakeholders? Absolutely, Vanessa replied, digging into her heart to convey her conviction. But real progress comes from bold action. If we let fear dictate our choices, we lose everything we've dedicated ourselves to creating. We need to lift every voice, especially those that feel unheard. Suddenly, Mia's innocent question hugged the air, are we going to have ice cream afterward? A gentle chuckle rippled through the room, lightening the weighty atmosphere. It was a beautiful reminder. Another executive spoke up, kids like her, they're the heartbeat of our future. We have a responsibility to engage them. A shift in the room sparked further conversation. Solutions began to flourish, excitement mingled with determination as they reported next steps, a commitment to reinvest, to create a task force that would include community leaders. The path forward felt clearer. Finally, as the meeting wound down, Vanessa sensed a wave of momentum building. If we can outline our goals and pilot this program to demonstrate impact, then we can garner support not just from you, but from the entire community, she said. And whatever hurdles we face, we'll face them together. With a chorus of agreement, the executives began sharing their thoughts on initial budgets and plans. They were finally stepping forward into change. But a lingering question asked itself, would they follow through? As the meeting wrapped up, the realization of unity settled in Vanessa's heart. It hadn't been just her fight, it was theirs now. They had committed to a new way of being. After the meeting, as she walked outside, the sun warmed her skin, the air infused with possibility. She turned to see Mia waiting, animated and bouncing. Did you win? Mommy? I think we did. Vanessa exclaimed, tears shining in her eyes, spilling over the edge. We took the first step toward something amazing. Mia smiled widely, throwing her arms around her mother, and in that embrace, time stood still. This wasn't just about a corporate initiative, it was the beginning of a powerful movement that would echo far beyond the boardroom. They were transforming not only their lives but the very fabric of the community, and for the first time, Vanessa felt hope stir in the depths of her heart. They walked hand in hand, laughter filling the air, knowing they had chosen courage over fear, authenticity over performance. Later, as the sun dipped below the horizon, carving an orange hue over the world, Vanessa hugged her daughter close. The journey had only just begun, but with hope and tenacity at their side, she knew they would face whatever challenges lay ahead together. This was their moment, their lives would never be the same. Now it's your turn. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and encourage more uplifting tales. Comment below your reactions about this transformational journey and share how it resonated with you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring change happen. You need to subscribe now, don't wait not even one more second to share this message of hope. Together, let us make a difference.